Nigel Farage is making a lot of hay out of Labour's changes to inheritance tax rules for family farmers. But at a rally today, he made it clear it's not just the taxes paid by farmers that he has in his sights.
Let's just stand up and say no to death taxes, full stop. End death taxes. They're wrong. They're immoral in every level.
So, we're told this is about our food. The reason that the farmers need these tax breaks is so that we can have food security. And actually, I have mixed feelings about the sort of tax breaks for these farmers because they are sort of asset rich, but quite income poor. And if they have to sell up their farm just to go to a larger corporation, that doesn't actually seem like a great outcome to me. But I am very much in favor of inheritance tax. It's way too low. It should be much higher. It should apply to way more people. I think at the moment only about 6% of people pay it. But this poses a political problem for me because in pretty much every survey you look at, inheritance tax is the least popular. People hate it. People from all classes hate it. People who definitely are not going to receive an inheritance that's sort of more than a few £100 seem to hate it. Ash, to me, inheritance tax is the most fair tax, right? No one earned their inheritance. If you've got parents who are able to bequeath an inheritance to you, you've probably already experienced quite a lot of privilege in your life. And so I don't see why you get a lump sum when they pass away. But at the same time, people hate it, right? If reform go into the next general election promising to get rid of it, it will be popular. What's your analysis on why I, myself, am so out of step with the general public on this issue?
I couldn't possibly comment on that, Michael, but I think how most people feel about it, and this isn't something I agree with, by the way, I'm just ventriloquizing. I think how lots of people think about it is that they feel like it's perfectly natural and an expression of their love towards their family members to want to make sure that they're looked after financially when they die. It feels like a perfectly obvious thing. And you think about, family inheritance as a way of kind of keeping the family identity intact. And people understand that in ways which are small and not subject to taxation. So the sort of importance that a grandmother's wedding ring takes on, for instance. So I think that there's a lot of, that sense of, something very emotional and something very primal is tied up in that. But also, and I would love to see the polling on this and how this has changed over time. I wonder if within a context where, if you want to economically stable life, you need intergenerational wealth. Like within that context, people are like, well, actually, like don't bring in inheritance tax or widen it because, it's not as if work's going to pay for my kids, or they're in a ton of debt because of uni, or I want to help them buy a house. So I wonder if it's also in response to the context. I would be interested in a little poll tracker there.
Yeah, I'm not against all inheritance, right? I think it is, I think it's perfectly natural to want to pass down stuff to your kids and to sort of have that as sort of, almost sort of a gift when you pass. But at the moment, I think if you're a married couple, you can pass on up to £1 million with no tax whatsoever.
Yes.
Now, if someone is lucky enough to be able to inherit, £1 million from their parents, like let's have the state take half of it. They still get £500,000, right? That's still a house deposit, right? If you make the threshold,
but also close the loopholes.
Yeah, exactly. Just put the threshold down to like 50 grand or 100 grand. Like if you get half of that, that's still a bloody good deal. Right, but we seem to think that if a £1 million house gets taxed at all, then that's some kind of problem.
No, and look, I agree with you. I think that that inheritance is the definition of unearned wealth, and I say this as someone whose family were able to buy houses in London. I'm not talking about fucking mansions, but my grandma bought a terraced house in Tottenham. It meant that when she died, there was like a significant sum to be split amongst the grandchildren. It was unearned. Like it was entirely unearned money. And like I recognized it as intended as a gift, and that all felt really good. But why is it that, through no endeavor of my own, that I should be given a boost up towards financial stability, and someone whose grandma didn't buy a house in London in the 1980s didn't. Like it's completely unearned. I just think that the context is important because that shapes how people feel about, I guess, the kind of financial world that their kids are growing up into.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whenever this comes up when I'm on TV, because my parents, they live in East London in a house that I think they bought for like 30 grand and now it's going to be worth like crazy ass money. And I'm like, obviously I'm a lot luckier than my friends who don't have parents in London who own a house, because I know that, you know, one day in the next 20 years or something, I might get this huge windfall, which, you know, but if the state take half of that, that's so reasonable. This idea that you have to get all of it just seems a bit mad to me. That's just like, everyone seems to think that there's all these lucky people with parents in London who own homes, and for some reason, all these people are getting up behind Nigel Farage and saying, let them have the full million.